Robert Craig, just an old man reading from his Bible. I'm the old man. This is the Bible that I use here, the Holy Bible. And please take note, it is also a King James. So, in my experience, that's what it takes to make a Holy Bible. It's not a translation exactly. It's a version, they call it. But I think it's the best. Well, last time we had left off at the end of chapter 15, and they had a big. They were going to take another journey onto the mission field, and it was Paul's idea actually, but Barnabas wanted to bring Mark, and the disagreement was so strong about whether Mark should come with them that they split up their partnership. And in verse 40, 39, the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed unto Cyprus, and Paul chose Silas. That was the man who accompanied them up from Jerusalem. Paul chose Silas and departed, being recommended by the brethren unto the grace of God. And he went through Syria and Cilicia, confirming the churches. Chapter 16, verse 1. Then came he to Derbe and Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there, named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman which was a Jewess, and believed. She was a kingdom gospel believer. And you find out that her, if you go to the book of 2 Timothy, he refers to Timothy, his son in the faith. This is Paul writing to Timothy. He says, I thank God, whom I serve from my forefathers with pure conscience, that without ceasing I have remembrance of thee in my prayers night and day. This is many years down the road. Timothy has been his partner in the work for many years now. Greatly desiring to see thee, being mindful of thy tears, that I may be filled with joy when I call to remembrance the unfeigned faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois and thy mother Eunice, and I'm persuaded that in thee also. His mother's name was Eunice, and she was a believer. And when you see that word attached to someone of the Jewish nation, it usually means they have believed the kingdom gospel. But she was married to a Gentile, and they had a son who was, he was the son of a Gentile. So he was a half-Jew, I guess you'd say. So, Timotheus was the son of a certain woman. Timotheus was his Roman name, I would suppose. The son of a certain woman which was a Jewess and believed, but his father was a Greek, which was well reported of by the brethren which were at Lystra and Iconium. And I believe that statement doesn't refer to Timothy's father, but to Timothy himself. Him would Paul have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised him because of the Jews which were in those quarters, for they knew all that his father was a Greek. And as a new believer, that's one of the first questions I asked my pastor. I said, I was reading through Acts. I came to this part where Paul meets Timothy, and he's preaching that circumcision is unnecessary. This issue had just recently been settled in Jerusalem, and here he comes upon a man that he wants to join his ministry, the first thing he does is circumcise him. My question is, why would he do that if he's so against circumcision as a requirement? And he said, all you have to do for your answer is just read the rest of the verse. He took and circumcised him. This is the reason right here. Because of the Jews, which were in those quarters. And what difference did that make? For they knew all that his father was a Greek. So he was going to join the ministry of Paul, but he did it, I guess you could say, as an accommodation to the Jews so that there wouldn't be any question about where he stood. And he, of course, he believed what his mother believed until he met Paul, it would seem. Verse 4, and as they went through the cities, they delivered them the decrees for to keep that were ordained of the apostles and elders which were at Jerusalem. Now, remember, in the previous chapter, this question came up at the Antioch church about what kind of requirements to put on those believers at Antioch, especially the ones who were coming to the Lord from among the Greeks. And so that resulted in four necessary things that they sent them in a letter. And so that's what he's delivering here as he's down here in the southern part of Asia. And so were the churches established in the faith and increased in number daily. When you see that phrase, the faith, depending on the context, it generally refers to a body of doctrine, like the kingdom saints in Jerusalem. They were true to the faith, but when that was said of them, it generally referred to the body of doctrine that Jesus had preached for 3 years in his fleshly ministry. But if Paul talks about the faith and it's referring to his ministry, it's referring usually to the body of doctrine that Paul received by revelation of the mystery. You won't see many direct referrals to doctrine in the book of Acts. It's not a good place to look for doctrine, but it helps you to put things in context when you read the epistles to the churches. You'll see, especially during the Acts period, those churches that received letters in that period, you're going to see what he was, things that he preached to them in that period of time. And it was things that were vastly different than the kingdom gospel. Verse 6, now when they'd gone throughout Phrygia and the region of Galatia, and were forbidden of the Holy Ghost to preach the word in Asia. I have thought about that. He's actually in Asia, but he's not in northern Asia. Not yet, anyway. I think he's receiving a course correction here. Verse 7, and they were come to Mysia and essayed to go into Bithynia, but the Spirit suffered them not. See, it seems that there was a particular course that the Lord had in mind for them to follow, and they're having to be guided, kind of like a team of horses or something. Verse 8, and passing by Mysia, they came down to Troas. And a vision appeared to Paul in the night. There stood a man of Macedonia and prayed him, saying, come over into Macedonia and help us. And after he had seen the vision, immediately we endeavored to go into Macedonia, assuredly gathering that the Lord had called us for to preach the gospel unto them. Therefore, loosing from Troas, we came with a straight course to Samothracia, and the next day to Neapolis, and from thence to Philippi, which is the chief city of that part of Macedonia. So this is that well-known Macedonian call that we hear in the hymn, right out of the hymn book. That is what it's about. We have heard the Macedonian call today. Send the light, send the light. So it's the chief city in that part of Macedonia. I think Paul is on the east coast of northern Greece, which is, it's called Macedonia, but it's that part of Greece that's above the isthmus that separates Athens and Corinth by a distance of, in those days, it was 80 some kilometers, I believe. So he says here in verse 12 that it's also a colony, and we were abiding in that city certain days for some length, some period of time. They were there working in Philippi. Now, why is it a colony? I think the clearest picture I could get of that was that it was a bunch of recently relocated Jews, because we're going to see when he comes down to the Athens and Corinth area, he's going to meet a man who is there. He's originally from Pontus, which is northern Asia, up by the Black Sea, but he's there because Caesar had commanded that all Jews should be put out of the area of Rome, and so they had to leave Italy and go out into the territories, you might say. But that's about the best understanding I had, that there was a colony there for some reason. But you had Jews there, but they hadn't been there long, I'm thinking, because they didn't have synagogue. Remember, Paul's pattern is when he goes to a city, he goes to the synagogue when he first gets there and preaches to the Jews first, and then the Gentiles. But as we'll see, there's no synagogue there. Verse 13, and on the Sabbath we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spake unto the women which resorted thither. And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple, of the city of Thyatira. See, she'd been located, she'd relocated from that area of Asia where they were not allowed to go. She was of the city of Thyatira, which worshipped God, and heard us, whose heart the Lord opened, as she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. And when Luke says here, she heard us, I think the grammar kind of points to the fact that he was part of that ministry team at that point. And she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. When she was baptized, and her household, she besought us, saying, if you've judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us. I think that's a good stopping point. These are long chapters, and there's a lot in them, and these are key events that figure into the telling of Paul's ministry on the mission field during those 3 journeys. The second journey it may not be the longest journey, but it's probably the most detailed. And I think that's for a purpose. It's a lot of details that are told here because uh, they shed a lot of light on things as you try to put the letters into context. Well, I think this is a good place to stop. So for now, may the Lord bless this reading of His Holy Scripture. We'll continue on, pick up right where we left off next time. I hope you'll join me.